Hi, welcome to Tea Time at the Movies. I'm your host, Tea Time. Today's episode, we got 3 reviews for you. The new horror zombie movie by Danny Boyle, 28 years later. We have an action comedy led Rebel Wilson movie called Bride Hard. And we have the new Disney Pixar movie, Elio. One quick note before we start the reviews. The movie theaters, let's cut down on the trailers. 25 minutes is way too long for trailers. As much as we all love Nicole Kidman, we don't need to see her beautiful face every time we see a movie. As long as along with the Coke ad and the IMAX ad and all the other ads that are on there, there's too much. Let's cut it down. And stop playing the same exact trailers. I don't think I saw a trailer for Bride Hard or Elliot or not Elliot for 20 years later. There's movies that just come out you don't see trailers for, and then you just let's vary it up a little bit. All right, first off here, we have 28 years later, the sequel to 28 Days Later from director Danny Boyle. I have my notes here, just going over this real quick. Danny Boyle, of course. Other movies I noted that I enjoyed of his, 127 Hours, Slumdog Millionaire, The Beach, Trainspotting 2, although Trainspotting was much better. This 28 Years Later was written by Alex Garland, who also wrote the first one. They're back, Danny Boyle and him. Pretty good combo here. Other things Alex Garland has written lately that I noted here: Warfare, Civil War, Men, Annihilation, Ex Machina, and Dread. I think Dread was probably the best of these. The Dread 3D back with Cersei from Game of Thrones. She was a good villain in that. Dread 3D. He kept the mask on. Yeah. Stayed true to the... I didn't see Warfare or Civil War. I heard they were good, but did not see them. All right, the synopsis for 28 Years Later. It's a coming-of-age story. The main character is a 12-year-old boy named Spike. Him and his father go to the mainland. Him and his clan are kind of sequestered on an island, and they go to the mainland to get the son's first kill, the zombie kill. Kind of tough. Things happen, but the son gets the kill. They come back. They have a big celebration. The mother is sick. Things happen. The son learns that there might be a doctor on the mainland, so he wants to bring the mother to get help to get her diagnosed to see what's wrong with her. And that's basically what the movie is about. This is definitely a T go see. This was a great movie. It was a horror zombie movie. If you're into that kind of movie, if you're not into the gruesomeness or that kind of out there concept, you might not enjoy this movie. But this was definitely a good movie if you want to go see. If you saw the first one, of course, you definitely want to see how it continues here. And let's go over my notes here real quick. Some of the actors in the movie. Yes. Spike, as I said, the main actor was played by Alfie Williams. This looked like it was his first major role. He was really good in this. Hard to get good kid acting, but he played a very emotional role in this. A lot of stuff happens to him. A lot of you can imagine with zombies. The mother, played by Jodie Comer, she was very good in this. Some of the other things she's been good in lately: Last Duel with Matt Damon, Free Guy, Bike Riders. She was good in that. It wasn't a very good movie, but she was great in this role. Let's see here. Ralph Fiennes, of course, Lord Voldemort. I don't need to go over his resume. He's just a great actor. He who shall not be named. His resume shall not be named. Aaron Taylor Johnson's in this. He's been in a lot lately. Craven's in this. He was in Nosferatu, Fall Guy, Bullet Train. He was Quicksilver, of course, in the Marvel movies, the CMU. Godzilla, I enjoyed him in that. He was good in Godzilla. And Kick-Ass, of course, Kick-Ass 2. He was good in that. Good movies. He's a good actor. Him and Jodie they were lost in these roles. I didn't even know who they were. I was like, who are these people? I looked it up at the end of the movie, and it was these great actors. That's what makes them so good. They get lost in these roles here. So like I said, there's definitely a T-go-see, well made, well shot. Everything made sense for a zombie movie. Not that makes much sense, but let's see other notes I had here before I spoil anything. Didn't recognize them. T-go-see. All right. Now we're going to get into some of the spoilers here. So some of the things that I enjoyed in this, there were alpha zombies, like zombies that are kind of harder to kill, harder to damage. They take a lot of arrows. There are a few of them out there. They have a little more resilience, a little more staying power. Like they stayed, one of them stayed and watched them as they slept overnight. Watching the horizon to make sure the Spike and his father wouldn't come out. He would have attacked them and murdered, tried to murder them. Ralph Fiennes plays a doctor in this. He just shows up covered in iodine and like orange goop, and he just says, it's good to protect against disease, and the zombies don't like the iodine apparently. This has some pretty out there concepts with Ralph Fiennes' character. He's a doctor, but they don't really explain why. But he burns all the bodies, the zombie bodies, the people bodies, and then he keeps all their skulls, and then he piles them up into a giant mound and a giant pyramid of skulls. In this, there's a pregnant zombie. Although the zombies seemed impervious to pain, that not the pain of birthing, I guess. The zombie was screaming. You should have heard these screams. It was a zombie birth, if you can imagine it. If you don't want to imagine it, go watch this movie because you will see it on screen. And whereas other zombie moans and screams attract the zombies, they all knew to stay away from the birthing screams, as we all should. And let's see, who's the father of the zombie baby? It's not very clear because they make it seem like it's one of these alpha zombies. But the zombie comes out, the baby zombie, and it's a white baby. This alpha zombie was, he seemed to be have a darker skin color and a huge penis. I mean, my God, they showed this zombie, he was naked, and that thing was like, forearm big. I don't know if the zombie virus gives you a big penis or not, but if it does, maybe I think about becoming a zombie. I think in the movie's definitely set up for the sequel. I think the doctor might be the father, the Ralph Fiennes character. Now, was the lady a zombie and then, or pregnant and then became a zombie, or was a zombie and then became pregnant? They don't really touch on that. That's why I think they will touch on that in the next one, and why Ralph Fiennes he lives to live another day or have sex with another zombie. I guess he seemed to be doing some experiments as well. All right, I'm just looking at my notes here. Here we go. Big spoiler. Crux of the movie. Did I believe that Ralph Fiennes diagnosed the mother character with cancer by feeling her titties and then drugging the son, and then went off screen to mercy kill the mother, then proceeded to cook her skull, peel the skin off, and then give it to her son to place on the skull pyramid? It just what seemed to be within like maybe 45 minutes. Yeah, I did believe that. Ralph Fiennes and the kid and the mom made it all believable. The mother has cancer. Ralph Fiennes, he does say, although he doesn't have diagnostic tools, he did feel on her breast, and it felt lumps and things, and said she has cancer. And then it seemed like within 5 minutes, they drugged the son so he wouldn't put up a fight or anything. But then they go off. He kills the mom and then cooks her skull to be placed on the skull pyramid. Which they show Ralph Fiennes cooking another skull earlier. It's the kick-ass character guy. What's his name? Well, whatever. The way he dies is one of the alpha zombies grabs the skull and he rips the skull out, and the spinal cord is attached. They show this several times of different animals and people being murdered this way, by the head being ripped off, and it's very Predator-esque. So they introduce that, and then they show it later with the mom, but it's kind of disturbing. The mercy kill your mom and then have to place her head on a skull pyramid. That's some heavy stuff for a 12-year-old at a movie in general, but a zombie movie, I guess you got to deal with it. Mom having cancer, you know, zombie movie. Other things I enjoyed in this movie, little spoilers, there are parkour zombie fighters at the end. They literally fight the zombies using the splendor of parkour. It's fun to watch. Hopefully, the sequel will show even more of that. I mentioned the huge zombie alpha penis. Get the white baby. I mentioned there will be a sequel. We all want to know who fathered this baby. This is a horror zombie movie, but it's also a story of family loss and coming of age. Boyle, if you're familiar with his work, is his style, where he shows like quick flashbacks with the cameras moving, a lot of kind of focus, a lot of that. It's fine storytelling. It's his style. I don't know why more directors don't use it, but it's fine. Although you notice it a lot, and there are jump scares that way with the zombies. The more horror is the horror of dealing with the loss of your mother, your father, with your family, your community. You might die any second, based on a zombie attack, or cancer, I guess. All right. I have to mention this. It's a big deal of mine. Most movies you don't get fat representation, you don't get bald representation, but this you get both. Was it the the ground dwelling worm eating zombies that kind of slug along? Sure, but you take representation where you get it, and I'm happy to. That's a joke. There needs to be better fat bald representation than these zombies. Half of men are experienced balding, but everyone on screen has perfect heads of hair. Women don't seem to care about that. But in the zombie movie, that's where we get the representation. That's what it takes. All right. Back in if you saw the last one, there's this haunting radio voice that it sounds like it's like British wartime bunker type announcement. It's very haunting, very scary. That's back. I don't want to hear it again because it's very haunting and scary. But they used it at the beginning of the movie. Very scary. Kind of rite of passage. There was great world building in this movie. You believed everything you saw, that they were lived on this island as a community. They cared for each other. They loved each other. They show them celebrating, partying. Everything felt real, even though it's a zombie film. These zombies run, they sprint. Uh, and there's no need to have seen the first one. I should have mentioned that earlier, but this one's pretty self-explanatory. If you're into zombie horror, you'll definitely love this one. So definitely a T go see. And what we had for 28 years later. All right, let's go to the next one, Bride Hard, the new action comedy. This was Bridesmaids meets Die Hard meets Spy, the Melissa McCarthy movie from several years ago. And this didn't make a very good mix of the three. Let's see. This comes from director Simon West. I looked him up. He directed Con Air, the 2001 Laura Croft, The Mechanic, Expendables 2 were the notable ones that I saw. The writers, let's see here. There were a couple of writers for this one. Cece Pleasance. She seemed to be a comedian. She had a lot of like late night credits, like talk shows, The Talk, late shows like James Corden, Jimmy Kimmel, Arsenio Hall. The other writer on this was Shayna Steinberg. And the only thing I noticed was she was known for Spartacus, that old Stars TV show. The actors in this notable: Rebel Wilson, of course. She led the movie. She's very funny. She was funny in this. She kind of did her best with what they had. Anna Camp. They're back together from I love them in Pitch Perfect together. They had good chemistry in that. They had good chemistry in this. Anna Camp is always believable in her roles. I love Anna Camp. She's very good. I never don't believe a role she does. Anna Klumsky. She plays one of the bridesmaids. She plays the maid of honor who replaces Rebel Wilson as the maid of honor. The other bridesmaids was Divine Joy Randolph. She was funny in this, definitely funny. Uh, she's an old college roommate. They kind of make it very clear at the beginning of the movie how they know each other, how everyone knows each other. And Steven Dorff is the villain in this. He was good in it. I don't know what Steven Dorff is from. To be honest, I know the name, I know the face. I just don't know what he's been in. I looked it up. I couldn't really recognize it. So the synopsis for this one is pretty simple. Rebel Wilson is a secret agent. If you've seen the trailer, you know what this one is. But she plays a secret agent. She was childhood friends with Anna Camp. Now Anna Camp is getting married, and she wants her as her maid of honor. But obviously, Rebel Wilson's job gets in the way because she's a secret agent fighting crime or espionage, things like that. The opening scene takes place in the midst of one of these espionage missions. All right. So the wedding, it's overtaken by robbers. The wedding's full of rich people. The robbers want to steal the gold that they have in the house, basically. That's basically the synopsis of the. This movie was not good. It was a no thanks, not for me. I wanted to like this movie. I did like this movie. The first half of the movie, it was very funny. Rebel was funny. The bridesmaids were funny. I just went over the Divine was funny. Let me get my notes here. The first 2/3 were fun and mostly funny and mostly believable. The bad guys arrive, and the story sort of kind of loses its charm, and it kind of goes off the deep end, or goes off the rails. The third act leaned way too much into the action and not into the comedy. It's like, not that women can't fight, but these are a bunch of women that have no training in fighting. How are they going to possibly take on hired robbers, assassins? They all have guns. So when that happens, it's a little unbelievable. Oh, let's see. So one of the things that examples that they could have leaned into on the comedy part, they introduce one of the rebel takes out one of the bad guys, and he lets her know that there's 25 or 27 other bad guys, and she goes, "Oh, that's good, peaceful, useful information, right?" So they could have leaned on that as comedy, like her counting down all the kills, like they're 24, 23, 22, like Gimli and Legolas in Lord of the Rings. Lean into comedy that way, where she's murdering people, but it's kind of funny. But they leaned into her actually, killing people with like or brute force by herself, with guns. A little bit of gunplay, but not enough to be believable. Where she was actually like fighting these bad guys, and some of the bridesmaids were too. A lot of the woman fighting in this of the men was basically them kicking the men in the balls, which I guess it's makes sense if you're a woman writing this that that would decapitate a man, but if you're a man, I think every man since the age of they've been kids that we've been hitting each other in the balls. We know how we it hurts, sure, but we're not going to be overcome and like fall to the ground in pain every single time it happens. Especially if I'm at work and I'm robbing people, and I have a gun. You suck it up a little bit. The unbelievable things like that made this movie not tolerable in the third act. Let's see. You could tell this movie was written by women. I gave you the balls, being kicked in the balls. Let's see. Another unbelievable thing is do women just not know how like heavy gold is? They were stealing gold bars, and then they set up some sort of like to transport the gold, to the transport ships. They use like a tube system, a giant like slip and slide tube system with like a fan, and they would like throw the brick of gold in there. They were like, I worked at a movie theater that had a pneumatic tube system that was enclosed, and that thing couldn't even fucking lift 2 rolls of quarters and some cash in there. This thing that they loosely set up in 5 minutes isn't going to lift a brick of gold anyway. So that's really unbelievable. There's another moment that was played like more real than like comedy, where Divine walks up to one of the bad guys when they're all being held up, and she walks up and she's like, "I'm a 9.5," or boom, no, I'm a 10, and she tries to like distract him with her beauty, like I'm not saying she's ugly, but I'm fat as well. I wouldn't call myself a 900. That being overweight that much, being severely obese, it brings you down a few points. But they played it for straight. Whereas another thing she says is, because I have like perfectly formed legs, right? And they're all in dresses, so you can't see their legs. Where why don't you just pull up the dress a little bit and show off the legs? Close up. Somebody else does some beautiful black legs. Like in Step Brothers, when Adam Scott says, like, I have like perfectly shaved abs, and he pulls his things up, and it's another actor, obviously. It's a comedy. Play things for comedy. You don't play like it that serious when you can belittle yourself. You can belittle people. It doesn't mean like, you know, it's written by women. All right. This is definitely a skip. Let me see some of my notes. I have my notes here for this movie. No, that was basically it. It was enjoyable the first half, first 2/3 of the movie. Then it got unbelievable when they get to the robbers come, and there's a whole trope where they have to like scan somebody's face and get a ring to open the vault where the gold is, which they eventually get open. And as I said earlier, with the pneumatic tubes, which didn't make sense. It was just overall bad. I wanted to like it. I wanted to make this a T go see, but it's because of that third act and all the not leading into the comedy. This is a no thanks, not for me. All right, last movie we have here, Elio, the new Disney Pixar. I went to go see this in 3D. Actually, uh, there's no reason to see this in 3D. Absolutely no reason. I mean, even the shots of like space and going into galaxies beyond was not worth the 3D. So skip it to 3D. If you're going to see this, you don't need to pay the extra money for 3D. Uh, there's actually no reason to see this movie at all. This was a no thanks, not for me. I mean, there's just way too much to say what was wrong with this in the story, but let's just go over it a little bit here. The directors, there were 3 directors on this movie. That's way too many for a movie. You need one person with this clear vision, not 3 different people who haven't really done too much. I wrote them down. Adrian Molina, known for Coco. Madeline Sherifrain, known for Coco, a story artist on that. And Domi Shi, known for Turning Red. For the writers, there's 8 listed writers on this thing. Like, my God, too many cooks in the kitchen, and all the food tastes like shit. All right, the synopsis. I was just gonna read it from my phone because it was with him and his aunt, and he's like hiding under a booth in a restaurant. It's just like overheard that she's supposed to speak of somebody else that his parents just died, and then he kind of just wanders into a cosmic a presentation on the I read that. the Voyager spacecraft that we sent into space uh, to find alien life forms. So he got it's just implied that he to not be alone, he's obsessed with aliens because of this. But at no point in this movie, like, do they show his relationship with his parents? Uh, it's just like a strained relationship with his aunt, who it seems he's just had gotten into her custody. But the passage of time is they don't even like let you know how much time passes from the parents died to custody to being moved to whatever. That was bad. The aunt who works for the military and like kind of the space program, like it's always in her military gear, like at all times. It doesn't make sense. It's a CGI movie. Just CGI her into different clothing to different scenes. Like she wouldn't get dressed when she's at home. She'd take that gear off. Like she's not always on call. All right, let's see. Yeah, here we go. How much times I never show the parents? Yeah, they never show the parents like at all in this movie. The aunt never mentions like who she was related to, the mother or the father. Like, it's not very clear. That's it. There's just one. There's no grandparents on either side of the mother. Like, all right. Yeah, the parents are dead. Show the love they had for one another and the love for Elio, and then like his love for space doesn't even come from his parents. It comes from because he wandered into that presentation about the Voyager. Uh, I think you come from the parents. Yeah, I was just reading my notes here. I'm sorry. I saw this a couple days ago. It's not fresh in my mind. I just saw the horror movie that's kind of busted in my mind here. All right, the Communiverse. My God, these communists. I guess aliens are communists unless it's the one trying to conquer everything. Uh, who is played by God? Who is his voice here? I'm sorry. I thought I had it in my notes. It doesn't matter. He was his voice was a little too scary for a kids movie. I get the only people that should see this movie are kids, people with young kids, and that haven't seen the other two cartoons that came out recently. Uh, these are my notes. This felt like a 5-year-old told the story to their parents at bedtime, and the parents kind of wrote down these ideas loosely and pitched it to Pixar. They made a movie out of this. It's like a fantastical story, which all Pixar movies are, but they have like real elements, like to make it based in reality. Where other Pixar movies, there's a fantastical element. It's like imagination. This was like set in reality. It was just, uh, it was, and Elliot wasn't likable at all. You didn't make us like him at all in the big movie. Just because your parents died doesn't mean we're gonna feel sorry for you. You got to make us feel that a little bit. You can't just open it and then just kind of offhandedly give us that knowledge and never show us how he loved his parents. There's a lot of repurposed ideas from other movies in this movie. A couple of them that I wrote down that the naive aliens thinking humans will save them, putting their trust like in a leader. Come on, that was from Galaxy Quest. Uh, the like, not that this is exactly from Stranger Things only, but like communicating with ham radios and that having be like key parts of the story. Uh, when they get the Communiverse, it's all set up like the Galactic Senate from Star Wars, where everyone's sitting like in their little pews or whatever, and or like Thor, the last Thor, when he goes to meet, he gets stripped, and they're surrounded by all these aliens. Like all the aliens felt like it was just copied from that universe, or just loosely. Just bad elements strung together, just didn't fit. Just a waste of time. Uh, and like every Disney story can't start with like dead parents. Like the Bambi, right? I mean, like watching this, and then you have to set up ideas and then fulfill them later, or like uh, foreshadow and then fulfill it at the end. This had like a lot of fulfilling at the end, but like very little setup at the beginning. They would like kind of backtrack. They had the idea at the end, and then they wrote it in the beginning to make it make sense. It's just that's the way it felt. Like uh, it felt written by women who are not actually dealing with the made up situation they created in this fictional story. Uh, and they wrote a story around something they've never experienced, like the loss of your parents, and then you have to be orphaned to your aunt. I don't think anyone. And after watching this and seeing that, what I just described, this is an example of how uh, Pixar movies are formulas and not genuine stories. How they have elements of like uh, this thing happening at the end that was set up in the beginning. It just elements that happen at the end reminded me of things in other movies that were set up better, and just this felt kind of like the same way I felt about the Phoenician scheme. Like everything felt played out. We've seen it before from the same, in this case, studio, but the Phoenicians get the same director. Uh, just a lot of bad ideas, not a lot of ideas fulfilled. Maybe the live action movie version of this will be better in several years, I guess. So this really, no thanks, not for me. So we got one good movie this week. 28 years later, a good half movie in the action comedy Bride Hard, and then the last one, Elio. It's a skip. Don't watch this movie. Don't waste your money. I mean, there's nothing particularly offensive. There's just nothing good about it. Just the story didn't fit. I'll stop there. But I keep it honest, and those are the reviews I had for you this week. I hope you enjoyed the reviews. Let me know in the comments anything you agree, disagree with, and I am Tea Time, and the T stands for truth, and that's a guarantee. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.